All right, and we are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Jesus Talks podcast. And guess what, guys? It's been a while. I know. But today we have a very special guest. Oh, so here's what I want to do. So, as you guys know, I'm your host, Ari. If you're new here, welcome. We do a lot of stuff around here. We talk to a lot of apologists. We talk to a lot of musicians. We talk to a lot of people who are Catholic or part of the apostolic churches. And what we do is we have conversations. But one of our favorite things on this channel to do is highlight testimonies. And so today, I have a very special guest. We have the incredible Val, who is a Catholic hip hop artist and rapper, who I actually met at the Sacred Heart Conference in Kentucky. And his story is powerful, and you guys are going to be amazed and blown away by the way that God has used him, the way that God has pulled him out of certain situations, and it's great. So I'm really excited to do this. So Val, thank you so much for being here with us today, brother. It's a pleasure to have you on.
It's a pleasure to be on. Adi, thank you so much for having me as a guest. Is your name pronounced Adi or Ari, or do you have a
It
preference?
does. I don't have a preference for it.
Either way, okay.
Yeah.
Ari,
My chat likes to bully me and call me Airy. So
Ari, okay.
they
I don't
would
know if
just
you want to
like
be Ari.
yeah, because we had a conversation with the priest, and instead of calling me Ari, he pronounced my name Ari, and so now everybody makes fun of me for it. But
Oh,
but,
okay.
but yeah. So it's like an inside joke. So if you see people call me Ari, that's why.
That's why.
Um,
Okay.
yeah. So, anyways, guys, excited to be here. As I said before, we have a special guest, Val, on today. But as always, we like to start off with prayer before we start this interview. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll do this in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who
Those who
trespass
trespass
against us.
against us.
And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. May all the angels and saints pray for us. Amen. All right. All right, guys. So excited. So as I mentioned before, guys, I actually met Val at the Kentucky conference. And plot twist, guys, for all my Hispanics out there, he speaks Spanish as well. So that's also another thing that I was motivated by, because he actually did a couple songs in Spanish, which was really inspiring. And I was like, I have to bring him on. So here he is. He's going to be sharing his testimony with us. So I guess the first thing I want to ask you, Val, is to kind of start us off. Maybe you could kind of bring us from the beginning. Like, did you grow up in the faith? Are you a convert? And what was your life? What was your life like before you? I guess everybody says like before you encountered Christ. So
Right.
when did you know that your life kind of changed? And kind of just set the background for us, brother.
Yeah. I actually used to be a Muslim. No, I'm just playing. No, I was born in the Catholic Church. Yeah, so I'm a cradle Catholic. I'm a cradle Catholic. That was a joke. I like to joke around a lot, so forgive me. So I was born a Catholic. My mother raised me a Catholic. She was a strong Catholic lady, very devout Guatemalan Catholic woman. She was actually in the convent to be a nun for about 10 years. She didn't give her final vows or anything. Uh, so she got out, and she discerned out of it after 10 years or so, and she decided that she wanted to be a wife and a mom. So she met my dad, and they started a family. So yeah, she was always raising me in the faith since the beginning. So yeah, God bless my mom and her prayers for raising me in the faith. I really appreciate her for that. She was always very strict when it came to that. We had to go to mass and say our prayers, and we would read the Bible in Spanish. She made sure that she would take us to Spanish mass so that we wouldn't forget our español. Pero a veces sí me gusta hablar en español, pero a veces como que no me sale muy bien. A veces sí, but I like to use it because I don't want to forget my native my native tongue. That's my first language. My first language. So yeah, I was raised Catholic to answer your question.
Okay, and so I know a lot of people were raised cradle Catholic, and a lot of times they don't really like, they kind of go through the routines. And so did you do any of that? Like, did that happen to you? Were you always like, yeah, like I grew up in the faith, I'm just doing it because I had to do it? Or did you feel like you actually did have a love for God? And because I mean, obviously there's a difference between knowing about God and then actually knowing God. So would you say, I guess the main question is, do you feel like you actually knew God, or did you feel like you only knew about him?
Well, as a kid and looking back at it now in retrospect, uh, by the grace of God, I was able to be baptized, and that's nothing nothing that I did. It's just, by the grace of God, I was baptized and made into a child of God that way, and thanks to my mom. But there were things that, of course, I didn't understand as a kid, and my small mind wasn't able to grasp certain things. So yeah, there was a level of ignorance when it came to the faith, but uh, it's not like I ever doubted God's existence, but there was never a real depth to my faith until much later on in my life. So it's just a very shallow faith of, yeah, there's a big God out there. Okay, I'll agree with that. I would agree with what the priest would say at mass and what I would read in the Bible. I'm like, okay, cool. I mean, I'm not gonna disagree with that, but there was never really a depth. So there was a sort of ignorance, but there wasn't really a full understanding.
And what do you think? What necessarily what happened to have it go more in depth? Because obviously there must have been an actual change from shallow. I don't want to say shallow Catholicism, because I was the same way, brother. Like cradle
Yeah,
Catholic my whole life, went to mass, and whatnot. But like I felt like I only knew about God, but I didn't actually know him. I didn't grow the relationship until much later on. So what is it that caused you to actually have that relationship with him? Was there like a switch in your life or a certain event that happened that made you be like, whoa, like this is it?
yeah. I think there was a lot of little moments like that, but one of the primary and big moments that stand out um, is when I was 13 and I got kicked out of my school. I was going to a middle school and I got kicked out. And my mom, I was just misbehaving, getting in trouble left and right. And my mom just really didn't understand what was going through my little mind. And she didn't really know how to control me, um, and how to gauge uh, where I was coming from. And, so it was difficult for her to kind of just control me and make me behave. So my counselor at the time in middle school, he was a Protestant, and he knew about this Christian boys' home in Washington State. And he talked to my mom about it. At first, she was a bit apprehensive because she didn't want me to go to a Protestant boys' home. But so at first she said no, and then he recommended it again. And after praying about it, thinking about it, my mom said yes. And she told me that ultimately she just told God, you know what, God, as long as he's learning about you and about Jesus Christ and reading the word, and if he's, going to become a man of God because of this, so be it. So she was faithful in that aspect that she allowed me to go. And that time that I spent was about a year in Spokane, Washington, in that boys' home. Um, I would say that was one of the moments that really everything clicked. Like everything that I had learned as a kid that wasn't really in depth, but it would kind of like go in one ear and out the other. Uh, but some of it kind of stayed there. But when I went to this boys' home and when I learned about the Word of God a little bit more in depth, because we would read it every day, like 3 times a day. So that's a lot more than I would read at my house, at my home. So just reading the Word that often, that frequently, and just constantly just talking about it and learning about it. Um, it triggered something. It triggered something, and I was like, oh, okay, so this is what it is. This is what Christ did. This is why he did what he did. So it's kind of like that awakening, and that's what kind of started to just really wake my faith up.
Um, Now, you mentioned that you got into a bit of trouble, and that was that. If you're willing to share about that, was it because of the wrong crowd that you were hanging out with? Was there something that maybe you were like, you know what, my family wasn't perfect? Because I know we've heard testimonies of people who maybe didn't grow up in the best household in terms of maybe certain issues going on, and then that maybe caused them to act out for a little while, and then they encounter Christ, and you know. I
Yeah,
mean, it's again, it's not to bash anybody at all, but I'm just asking, like, whether that was your case.
yeah. So I think for me, it was a sequence of things. Growing up as a kid, as a little boy, I was born in Guatemala City, and then we migrated from Guatemala City to East LA. My dad was very abusive to my mom, and he was very abusive to us physically. He would just beat the crap out of us. He would drink a lot. He would beat my mom up. One night, I remember my mom and him got into a fight, and he hit my mom, and I just remember seeing my mom's face just full of blood, and the cops came and they took my dad away. And while he was in jail one night, my mom took us, and we were living from shelter to shelter. Uh, so like everybody has their hard times, right? And me as a kid, um, I'm seeing this, and I'm feeling like my mom's taking me away from my dad, even though she was doing it for the right reasons. As a kid, I didn't really, I wasn't able to fully rationalize that. I just felt like, oh, my dad's being taken away from me. Why am I not with my dad? And then part of me kind of rebelled, you know, going from shelter to shelter, not having stability. I think that might have been part of it too. My mom always working because she had to provide for us somehow. So I had a lot of free time with friends from kids from the shelters, kids from around the way in the neighborhood. So there was a lot of influences that were not very let's just say they weren't always the most positive. So I
Mhm.
think that's like how it slowly started to go about, and then just seeing different different influences and different people with a different perspective, and trying to find a father figure. I looked into the wrong type of father figures. I looked at hip hop artists, rap artists, and guys from around the way, from around the block, that were doing the wrong things. Um, and I looked up to them, and I saw them as father figures, and figured that I would have to do what they were doing in order to become a man. So that's kind of where
Where
the
you're
falling off kind of started. Yeah.
okay. Um, anybody in your life, I guess per se, like, was there anybody at church that, because I know a lot of times when we grow up without a father figure, I was one of them. I didn't grow up with my biological dad around, so I was the same way too. When my parents separated, the same way, I was wondering, like, why am I being taken away from my dad? You know. And we don't really get to understand it until we grow older and we start seeing the reality of things. Now, did you at any point, anybody, like maybe through church or maybe through that group that you were put in, the Protestant group, um was there anybody that maybe you kind of considered them like a dad, that maybe was a good influence at one point? Because obviously we tend to attach to people who are
Right.
not positive influences when you're lacking that, father figure. But I'm wondering, was there any positive ones at all, like later on, that you felt like maybe helped you?
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. Even before I went to the boys' home, Mr. Guerreri, my counselor, he would always give me great advice. And I knew he wasn't Catholic, but I knew that he was in a good relationship with Christ, and I knew that he had words of wisdom for me. So I looked at him as a positive influence, not somebody that I wanted to be like per se, because in my mind he wasn't like cool. But when I went to the boys' home, there was this man. His name was Jeff Whitehouse, and he was the guy that was in charge of the boys. and he had, he was this big white guy with a bunch of tattoos, and he used to be a Hell's Angel, and he used to, ride Harley. So he had a lot of cool stories for us. So when I would talk to him, I started looking at him like, oh man, this guy's pretty cool actually. And now he's changed his ways. He went from like bad to good, and now he's helping kids out. So yeah, I would say he was probably one of the first um, father figures that I would see as a cool, as somebody that was kind of cool to me, right? Because yeah, growing up as a Catholic, there was priests that I would talk to, and I thought they were, obviously they're priests, so they're good, but I wasn't really able to relate to them. So when I would talk to Jeff, I related to him because I was like, oh, he's done bad things too. I've done bad things. He went from bad to good. Maybe I could go from bad to good.
So he kind of gave you that hope a little bit that maybe life didn't suck as much as it does in certain circumstances.
Yeah,
Um, yeah. So I guess my next question would be, so once everything started clicking for you, in terms of your Catholic faith, you started to make sense of Christ and God and everything. I do want to ask, like during that time period that you were struggling, um, did your perception of God change at all? Was there times, because I know for me, there's been times where I've been angry at God. There are times where maybe I was like, you know what, I don't want anything to do with you because of how bad the situations can sometimes be.
yeah,
Um, and then I would come back again, and then so I don't know if maybe you went through a certain period where maybe your faith was shaken because of the things that were going on in your childhood.
yeah. I think yeah, my faith was shaken a few times, but I think once things started to click a little bit more for me in the boys' home, I started to struggle more because then when I actually came to an understanding of what I was supposed to do, it was hard for me to actually do the right thing. So I think for me personally, there was phases in my life. The first one was ignorance, right? I didn't really have a knowledge per se of how I was supposed to walk, what I was supposed to do, what God uh, wanted from me. There was an ignorance, right? So that's like the stage of ignorance. Then after the boys' home, it was like, okay, I have this knowledge, but now I have to apply it. And then it was hard for me because I lacked the discipline. So I had to build up that discipline. So once I was able to understand what I was supposed to do, I would struggle a lot. So I fell a lot. Like the boys' home was not like smooth sailing. I struggled so much in there. So yeah, I did. I got upset with God. I cried a lot. I ran away a lot in the boys' home. I lost my virginity in the boys' home. Uh, not with another boy. Okay, that's not.
You're good. You're good. I mean, hey, we
Don't.
don't judge around here. I mean, it's. I mean, I'm
No, no.
telling
I
you,
just
man.
want to. I just want to clarify. I just want to clarify. That's
It's
another joke too. But I did lose my virginity. There was a young lady that we had encountered in the boys' home, and I lost my virginity there. It's funny because I encountered God. I lost my virginity. I got into so much trouble in the boys' home. They had this thing called discipline, where they would put you outside, put you in the woods, and make you uh, dig out tree stumps and carry brush. Let me tell you, I was always outside with a shovel. I was always outside with a rake. So I got in so much trouble there. That's because I'm telling you, I learned what I wasn't supposed to do. And it was hard for me to not do those things anymore because I lacked so much discipline. I never had like a father figure tell me this is how you're supposed to act and this is what God wants from you. So it was hard for me to develop this discipline, and it's a process to really be able to work that discipline out and walk in discipline and obedience. Uh, so yeah, getting into a lot of trouble, screaming at God, crying out to God, like while I'm like digging out tree stumps on my knees, like, why'd you put me here? Do you hate me? And missing my family and feeling like an outcast. Uh, Listening to people kind of bash and clown at the Catholic Church, being kind of confused. Wait, is my family, really Christian? Are they really saved? All these things just, and on top of that, I'm like 13, 14, so I'm going through a lot of like changes in my body and my mind, and so it was a hard time for me growing up there. I mean, being there in the boys' home, but at the same time, I think it's a blessing, and I needed it because like I said, it allowed me to kind of just understand that there's a certain way that you have to live, a certain way that you have to move if you're gonna be a believer in Christ. So that was like the beginning of it. But yeah, I definitely got mad at God a lot.
And I think my question would be: were you one of those people that? Because I don't know why I used to think this when I was younger, right? I used to think that you couldn't get mad at God, and I would like apologize because I would be. I'm the same way, man. Like I'm very emotional too, and so
Yeah,
like I'll be like, why this and why that, and then later I'll be like, I'm sorry, God. Like maybe I probably shouldn't have. I probably shouldn't have been mad at you. You know, I don't know if
yeah,
you kind of went through that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because especially as Catholics, we're raised that there's supposed to be a certain reverence and a certain respect that you have to have towards God and anything that has to do with God. So, even when my friends would pass by a church, we'd be like cursing and all this stuff, and you pass by a church, you're like, oh, don't curse, you're by a church. Do the
Mm-hmm.
sign of the cross. Then you
Yeah.
pass it, and then you just keep cursing again. So it's
You're
like,
just like, okay, let's go back to it. Yeah,
uh,
and and I think a lot of it's like I don't know why, but like Hispanic parents always make us like do a sign of the cross whenever there's a Catholic church, even if it's not even my Catholic church. I'm always
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah,
every single time, and it's just
yeah, yeah.
yeah. So another thing, another question I want to ask you is, um, now okay. Now I know you're a dad. I know you have your own family and everything. Now, I do want to get to this part. So, when you had your kids and whatnot, like I assume, correct me if I'm wrong. I assume it was a little difficult, or was it scary, or was it difficult to be a dad? No, because of the way that maybe you grew up. Because I know people who maybe have a fear of maybe not being a good dad because of the lack of father figure that they had in their life.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was definitely scared. It was a scary thing. At the same time, it was something that was exciting for me because um, I did I did feel like, okay, I didn't grow up with a dad, but once I have a kid, I want to be the best dad that I could be. So there was like those a mix of feelings, that excitement and then that fear. Like, am I going to be able to live up to the kind of dad that I want to be, or am I just going to be like my dad? Um, but I'll tell you this: when I found out that I was going to be a dad for the first time, guess where I was at? I was sitting in jail. I was sitting in jail when I got a letter and I found out that my girlfriend at that time was pregnant, and I got excited. I remember I felt joy, and I was thinking to myself, "Oh man, this is gonna be great. I'm gonna be a great dad. I'm gonna show her how to be a good person, how to how to walk in faith and obedience, and how to be a good, upstanding citizen." And I'm sitting here in jail, like, wait a minute, but I'm in jail. How am I gonna show her how to be a good person if I'm not there yet? So that's when I realized I gotta change. I gotta stop selling drugs. I gotta stop drinking and driving. I gotta stop getting in trouble because those are the kind of things that I was doing. Ever since I was 17, when I was 17, I started selling crystal meth. Then later on, cocaine. I remember I would steal VCRs and DVD players and stuff, anything that I could get my hands on, laptops, and exchange it for drugs, and then I would sell the drugs. And I was just I was trying to make money, easy money, but I was also trying to emulate like the people that were around me, emulate the rappers that I listened to. I was trying to be someone that I really wasn't, because to me, those guys were cool, and I just wanted to, I wanted to be that. So I got into a lot of trouble, ended up in jail, find out that I'm gonna be a father, and just thinking and reflecting, I have to change the kind of person that I am if I'm gonna be able to raise my kid to be a good person. So yeah, that's
Um,
definitely, yeah.
yeah. So, um, Now, let's back up here. Now, you said around the age of 17, you started getting into drugs, alcohol, and all that stuff. Now, can you explain to us a little bit of how did you come across those things, and how were you able to how were you able to stop doing the things that you were doing before? Because that is very hard. As somebody who has struggled with certain addictions, it is very, very hard to let go of those things. Very, very hard,
Yeah,
and it takes a lot of willpower and it takes a lot of discipline by the grace of God, obviously, to really be able to let go of those things. So can you kind of maybe share with us what was that journey like?
yeah,
And
yeah. So I'll back up a little bit. So once I got out of the boys' home, I was doing good for a little bit, for about a year. I was set to, I had the mindset of, okay, I'm gonna follow Christ now. I'm gonna follow God, do the right thing. But like many of us, once you start surrounding yourself with a bad group of people again, like my environment, I didn't change my environment or anything. You kind of start to fall back into the old things, the old ways, the old music. And so I went back to that mentality of you know, doing my own thing, doing what uh, instant gratification and just feeding my flesh whatever feels good. Uh, the easy way, right? The easy route. So I was falling into that and being around the wrong people. I started to experiment with alcohol. Alcohol was like the biggest thing because I think I tried marijuana was when I was in high school, but I didn't really like it. It wasn't for me. And then I figured that I wanted to sell it instead of smoke it. So I did that. And then I did the same thing with crystal meth. I never experimented with crystal meth. I was always just very scared of it because I would see what it did to other people around me. Um, but I did try and experimented with cocaine because of the people that I was around with. Right, you go to parties and they're doing it. Um, you're around the wrong crowds and they're doing it. And I tried it for about a month, but it scared me so much because I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it so much, and I saw myself really becoming addicted to it. So I told myself, I said, okay, I gotta stop because if I don't stop, I'm gonna really fall hard for this thing. And that scared me, so I stopped. I just like cold turkey, just stopped after a month of using it. And then I told myself, I'm just gonna sell it. I'm just gonna make money. I don't want to be these cats that end up getting high on their own supply. I'm just gonna sell it and make money, and that's it. Um, so by the grace of God, I didn't get hooked on any drugs, but when it came to alcohol, I did become sort of dependent on it because it was one of those things that I used as a crutch when things were going hard, when moments were difficult in my life, and I was feeling like sort of depressed or anxious or sad. I would just rely on alcohol also like as a way to escape because I wasn't really happy with the way that I was living my life, just getting in trouble and none of these things were very fulfilling. So I try to kind of just escape with alcohol. But like we all know, alcohol just makes things 10 times worse. So it would get me even more depressed, more sad. Um, so yeah, it was just a cycle. But uh, like I told you, once I went to jail a few times, but um, once I found out that my girlfriend at the time was gonna give birth to my daughter, things slowly started to change, and I started to realize, okay, I have to give these things up, and I know it's gonna be hard, but I have to. And then you replace them with other things. You replace drinking alcohol with I don't know, drinking like mineral water or I just always my mom would always tell me that you can't just give up something without replacing you have to replace it for something good. So that was kind of always the mindset, like replacing um, hanging out with these people that tend to always get me into trouble, and then let me replace it with this youth group or let me replace it with these people from church. So just little by little, just doing those things even when I didn't want to, going to church, going to a prayer group, um, listening to some sort of evangelization or something. Just filling myself with different things instead of that poison, instead of just purely alcohol. Uh, yeah, that's kind of what helped me. Just the replacing the bad things for the good things.
Now we do have a question that somebody asked. One of my brothers on here in the chat. He asked me, "Who was your favorite rapper that you were listening to?" Because back then before you encountered.
Oh yeah, yeah. Um, I'll give you guys two, man. And these are like the stereotypical top five dead or alive, right? I always go with Nas was my favorite. Like when it comes to lyrics, lyricism, and everything, it's Nas. But when it came to like the mindset and the mentality and like the poetic, just just the poetic vibe in everything that he said, not even just music. It was Tupac. Tupac just had such a powerful voice when it came to like his stance on certain situations and the way that he viewed the world. More than his music, that impacted me. But when it came solely to the music, it was Nas. Definitely Nas.
Okay, so there you go, guys.
Yeah, Tupac and
Tupac and
Nas.
Nas, yeah, because everybody was wondering what rappers was he referencing. Now he also did say, "I always do the sign of the cross when I pass the Catholic church." One time, people thought I was signing.
Okay, I
I
can
can
see
see that
that. Yeah,
happen. Oh my
that's
gosh,
funny.
he's like, "Don't make me spit bars." Oh my, Av, no. Uh, See, and I told you they're a bunch of bullies here that said it's Harry. 'Cause, I told you that they either call me Airy, but some of them call me Harry. And then
Harry,
he's calling
Harry.
yeah, and then he's calling me out because I was late to the stream. Well,
Okay, okay.
okay. So I guess let's start getting into how you got into doing Catholic hip hop because now did you know that Catholic hip hop existed before you did music? And if
Um,
not, um, um how did you start getting into your music?
yeah, so I'll just go back to just hip hop in general. I think I was 13. Yeah, I was around 13, 14, around the time that I went into the boys' home. I think before going into the boys' home, I had heard some Eminem songs, some Biggie songs, and I remember writing down the lyrics for a Biggie song. I believe it was "Going Back to Cali," and that was the first rap song that I actually memorized, and I would always recite, and I'll always recite, and I just felt so cool, like when I was saying it, and like the way that he would say the words, and just everything about it, the beat, so sonically, and then rhythmically, and uh, when it came to the rhyme schemes and everything, I just loved it. And then I heard Eminem when I was at the boys' home. I think we're at a like a street fair or something, and I heard like one of his songs from the Marshall Mathers LP he was playing, and then I fell in love with that. Just like the wordplay, the way that it sounded, the aggressiveness, um, and yeah. So I would say I was around 13, 14, and then when I got out of the boys' home, I started listening to it more. And at the boys' home, they allowed us to listen to a little bit of Christian rap, and I thought it sounded cool too. But there was something that just kind of didn't really resonate with me too much. I listened to it a little bit, but some of it sounded like they were just trying to preach too much at me, so it kind of turned me off a little bit. When I went back home, I believe I got the Marshall Mathers LP, but I started listening to a lot of Eminem, a lot of Biggie, a lot of East Coast rappers, and a lot of Nas, Jay Z. And then just when I started really listening to them and Mobb Deep and breaking down their lyrics and everything, I started to fall in love with the craft because they weren't just rhyming words. They were doing like 7 syllable rhyme schemes, 5 syllable rhyme schemes, the metaphors, the double entendres, the punchlines, and just I would just start like taking notes. Oh man, I love the way they did this and they said this. Nas did a song that was like backwards, like from like the end to the beginning, and just the creativeness of it, the storytelling. It was just beautiful the way that they were able to depict stories and talk about their struggles, and yeah, it was dope. So it was around that time where I really fell in love with hip hop, and so I started trying to write my own rhymes, and I would write songs all the time since I was little. Before I even knew about hip hop, I was always writing down songs and showing them to my mom and my brothers and sisters. Like, hey, what do you guys think about this? And they'd be like, sounds good. But when I heard rap for the first time, I knew that I was okay. All right, so this is what I want to write. I want to start writing rap songs. So I started writing my own rap songs, and ever since I was 14, 15, I really started to get into it. And when I was, yeah, a sophomore in high school, I recorded my first album. Uh, I was I gave myself the rap name Legacy, and my first rap album, it was called Back to the Beginning. And so I remember like making copies, just copies like on the printer, with a crappy little picture, and then just selling it. And I was selling it for $10 a pop. So I sold quite a bit in high school, and then just kind of just getting the word out that I was a little rapper. And then I did a talent show in high school, and I also entered into this contest, like I forget what it was called, but it was a contest that you had to make a song about drinking and driving, like to prevent drinking and driving. And I ended up being one of the winners, and they flew me out to Oakland, and I recorded the song. So just after that, I knew that this is what I want to do. I want to record rap music and just and put it out. I loved like the process of creating, and then the process of like putting it out, and then seeing the reaction of people and how they like it, how it can resonate with them, and how they listen to it and react to it. So that became kind of my thing, like, okay, this is what I want to keep doing. And so just naturally, when I decided to take my faith more seriously, it just naturally started going into the lyrics because I was always doing it. It's not like I became Catholic and then just said, woke up one day and was like, you know what, I want to reach the youth, so I'm gonna start rapping. Like, I was always rapping since I was 13, 14. And so when I really started taking my faith seriously, the rap music that I was already making started slowly, gradually changing. Yeah, but I didn't know that there was Catholic hip hop. I think I did search it up, but the only dude that popped up, the only one was C26.
We love C26, man.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
actually, he's great.
yeah. He's
His
great.
music is, yeah, his music is great. He's gonna be on the show soon too. So,
Okay,
um,
cool.
but funny enough that you said that. Now it is very interesting because I feel like now we're starting to see more people, starting to do Catholic rap. Now I do understand you because like I think beforehand when I try to look at it because I always loved hip hop surprisingly. This might
Yeah.
actually shock people. I was a huge Eminem person. Like that that
Okay.
that that
Yeah.
that, that was my dude. You know.
Yeah.
But
Me too.
that was my dude. So I was like really obsessed with a lot of the hip hop artists back then. But when I started trying to look up like Christian ones or Catholic ones, I didn't like it, and I wasn't a fan of it. And it actually wasn't until I don't remember how. Oh, I ended up I ended up meeting a not meeting. I ended up being connected with Enoch's brother Elijah, who's an apologist as well. He does apologetics online, and
Oh
I
yeah.
actually meeting his brother. And then I found out that he had a brother who does rap music. And then I found out that they used to do rap music together. And I was like, all right, let me check it out. And honestly, I was expected to be disappointed with Enoch's music, and I wasn't. And I was like, oh, I'm like, good Catholic rap actually exists. And so I was
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm like, all right, all right. So this isn't like the cheesy because you know how some of them are like really cheesy and it's just
Yeah.
it doesn't click. Like it just seems like you're trying to
Well,
like how you were preaching.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You know what it is? It's like I said, I think it's because, like, for me, it came off as authentically, because that's that's what I loved already, right? I was already doing it, and I was trying to perfect my pen game and the craft. I think when you actually have a love for the craft, because people forget that it's a craft. that just like sewing or knitting is something that you have to really practice and get good at to be able to do. Um, so you can't just wake up one day and be like, "Oh, I'm gonna be good at knitting." No, like you've got to put in the time, right? But I feel like it has to come from a sincere place with hip hop. So it was already kind of in me, and I felt so. It's almost like I say I fell in love with hip hop, and then I fell in love with my faith. So like it had to make sense that like I integrated both of them together. So yeah, it was just like a natural process, and I think that people can kind of sense when it's authentic versus when you just wake up, you're like a youth minister, and you just wake up one day and say like, oh, I want to reach more kids. I'm going to use rap to bring the kids into ministry and into the church. Like, hey kids, Jesus is cool, let's go to school. And then it sounds like that, right? So it's
Yeah,
gotta.
and that is the kind of rap the kind of hip hop that I came across, and I was just turned off by. And I was like, really? I'm like, there's no good. I'm like, there's seriously no good Catholic hip hop artists, like, And I'll be honest, even before the conference, the only Catholic rap that I would listen to would be I don't know if you're familiar with the symbol, Brandon
Oh
Morel.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Brandon is the one I used to listen to, and Enoch. Those were the two main people. And it actually, and
Okay.
funny story for the audience who doesn't know this, I said from the beginning, I met Val actually at the Kentucky conference. I was very very surprised because I was low key when you guys came up, when you and C26 came up, and everybody else. I was a little worried because I was like, what if these guys suck? Like that was my first thought. I was like, because I'm so used to hearing like because I wasn't too familiar with the like that there
Yeah,
are
yeah,
other good Catholic hip hop artists. And one of
yeah,
the things, and I know I said this to you in person, one of the things that drew me was like I felt the how authentic you were with your music because you lived it. And not only that, but it's like another thing was I also mentioned to you, like, it's great to see representation, especially for the Hispanic community, because you don't really get to see that,
yeah,
especially a Catholic hip hop artist who's also Hispanic and who isn't afraid to use Spanish in their music as well. Like that,
yeah,
that's not something that you see every day. And so that is one of the things that I know that, like, and I've told you this, like, that's one of the things that actually drew me to you. And I actually did start listening to more of your music, and I started listening to C26 and everybody else that was there. Incredible group of hip hop artists that were there at the conference, and it's just it's amazing to be able to see that. I was glad that I was wrong. I was glad to
yeah.
be wrong. I was very
Oh man. Well, I'm glad we were able to appease you, and yeah, thank you for giving us a chance.
very and Philip is actually in the comments. He said earlier, "There's two of my favoritist people, Val and my bonus daughter." We love
Oh, what's up,
Philip.
Philip?
Yeah, he said, "Change my playlist too." There you go.
Oh
See?
man, thank you,
Yeah.
Philip. Appreciate it. Man, Philip was great. He was just helping out so much at the conference, and he seems like a real cool dude, man.
Yeah, he basically adopted me. The man helped me
Oh,
get to the conference because I went through a whole thing where I was stuck at airports and everything, and and Michael literally just pushed Philip towards me, and he's like, "Go help her, make sure she gets here." I don't know, figure it out kind of way, and Philip got me there. But yeah, Philip's the man.
yeah.
So I think another thing that I wanted to kind of ask you is do you find it do you find it hard to kind of put yourself out there, because you're, again, like I mentioned before, there's not that many Catholic hip hop artists out there that are actually good. Like, do you find that hard, or do you feel like you and the other guys are kind of slowly starting to create that space for people?
Um, I'll be honest. I'm gonna be completely vulnerable with you.
Hmm.
When I when I started making music, I didn't necessarily have in mind that I was gonna make Catholic hip hop music. I just knew that I wanted to be authentic. That was always my thing. I love authentic hip hop. Hip hop is supposed to be whatever you're living is supposed to reflect in your lyrics, in your music, in your delivery, in your voice. So I wanted to make sure that I was going to be authentic. When I met Carlos and we started making music together, they were already initially a group. Found Nation was already a group with Nico Santana, with Fonzie Separate Mind, who's the producer and rapper and singer of the group, and C26. They were already doing their thing for the most part when Carlos reached out to me, right? And I heard some of their music for the first time, and I said, "This is pretty cool. Like some of it's a little bit cheesy, but I think it's kind of cool how they're just like strictly exclusively Catholic, right?" I wasn't sure how to feel about it. I wasn't sure if I was gonna start labeling myself Catholic hip hop or not. I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna make my music as authentically as I can and just be sincere and honest. And slowly, like the more I dove into my faith, I started talking about it more. But I never necessarily wanted to be a Catholic hip hop artist, um, because I felt like that would insinuate that I would have to like force my subject matter to fit a certain box, to fit a certain category, and I didn't necessarily want to do that because sometimes it felt a little cheesy to me to force something, right? It really had to come naturally. Like if I wanted to speak about Jesus, it was going to be because I really felt like I had to speak about Jesus or the sacraments. Um, but yeah, but the more I started making music with these guys, the more I saw that they were really in love with their faith and everything that they were saying was coming out like authentic. This is what they really loved. This is what they really lived. And the more I started really living my faith, the more it would come out. Um, so yeah, I would get a little bit discouraged at the beginning when I would see that we weren't really getting a lot of love. I was like, man, nobody even really supports or rocks with Catholic hip hop. We've been doing it for so long, and hardly anybody even knows. Like, you even admit it. You didn't know that anybody else was making it, and here we've been making music for 12 years, right? Um, so it was, there's definitely been moments of uh, being discouraged, and just those moments where you realize that maybe maybe no one's really gonna support, but what's really our heart? What's our intention? Are we doing it just to get likes, just to get supports, or are we doing this because we feel that there's a calling, there's a special need for it, regardless of how many people are going to listen? So the more I checked my heart, the more I started to grow as a man, mature in my faith. The more I started to see that what, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if right now no one or hardly any people know about this movement. This is something that I have to keep doing because my faith is so important to me, and I really always had a love for this genre, this culture, hip hop. So there's got to be a reason why God put this passion in my heart for rap music, and there's got to be a reason why He put this passion in my heart for His church. So be a faithful, let me be a faithful servant. Let me be a good steward of my gifts and do my best to to highlight Christ and His church, the Catholic Church, and to use my little rap gift the best way that I can to draw people back into the faith uh, by this by this medium, by using Catholic hip hop.
I guess my other question would be, because you started to grow a love of the Catholic faith. What are some of your favorite things about the Catholic faith that you love? And is there a specific saint that you have is there a specific saint that maybe you have like a devotion to, or one that maybe you're like, this is my saint? Because for me, like I can tell you, like for me, it's Saint Joseph and Saint Michael. Like those two are
Oh
my all time
yes.
favorite saints. But I
Oh
don't know about
man. No, yeah, man. You chose some really dope ones right there. Yeah, Saint Joseph is definitely, he's like that dude that I never really paid too much attention to him, like up until maybe 5 years ago, where he's just like so quiet but so loud at the same time. just like so masculine the way that he just protected his family. And when I was talking about father fig father figures and male figures to look up to, like Saint Joseph is one of those dudes that's just like, man, I want to be like that guy. That guy's just like a man's man. So yeah, definitely Saint Joseph. Also Saint Maximilian Kolbe.
That's
Saint
a good
yeah,
one.
yeah, his story is powerful, man. That guy's yeah. I mean also who else? Saint Francis of Assisi. Just so many, but I would say definitely Saint Joseph is definitely one of my top five. He's yeah, he's definitely the masculine type. He's the type of man that I definitely want to be. So yeah, that's my guy right there.
Mm.
And what was the other question? What was
Another
one thing?
question was, yeah, what are a couple of things that you, or what is your favorite thing about the Catholic faith? Because you say you started to grow a huge love for it in the
Yeah, yeah,
future,
yeah,
like as you progressed along your journey.
yeah. So I would say just the fact that there's order. There's so much order, and everyone's on the same page. You see our Protestant brothers and sisters, and there's so much division, and then just seeing the church is like every day there's mass and everybody's celebrating the same mass and we're all in unity and it's just like the authority of the church. Yeah, I would say the authority of the church, which is like what a lot of people dislike about the church, that they have that authority. But I feel like, man, that's beautiful because you can see the apostolic succession. You can trace it back to the roots, and you can see this is the church, the OG church that Christ established, and I think it's dope. And just the sacraments, for example, confession. I love confession. The fact that it it has like the human aspect and the spiritual aspect, because as humans, like the church understands us so well. It's like I feel like how could you not know that Christ was the one that started these sacraments, established this church, because it just works so well. Confession as a human being, you have to kind of just tell somebody, like your deepest darkest secret, and that allows you to do that with the priest, that's actually representing Christ at that moment, right? So you could tell Christ all these things, but also a person, and then just hear those words of like absolution. It's like just this weight that's just being lifted off your shoulders, and I mean, that's a beautiful thing. I'm so thankful for that.
It's
Confession,
like,
yeah.
and I think it helps us to be more, to be in humility, because it's like, I mean, it's not necessarily to bring shame, but it's also like when you're, I feel like for me, right, when I'm speaking with the priest and I'm telling him I did this, and especially as someone who struggled with addiction, like even
Hmm.
if, for example, like if me or you, if we start to relapse, we know exactly where to go. Like we know exactly, hey, confession is waiting for us. We could
Yeah,
go in, we can say, hey, you know what, this, and then to know, and then to kind of, it kind of feels like the weight is just lifted off your shoulders, because it's not just you, like
yeah,
it's not, you're not just holding it inside, you're just kind of like, oh, okay, like, yeah, I did this, and you're really sorry for doing it, and then you get the absolution, and you walk out, and you're like, I'm a new person,
yeah,
you're kind of, you have that little pep in your step, as people like to say.
yeah.
You
Oh,
get a
heck yeah.
confession,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's what I'm
so.
saying. You feel it. You feel God's grace working through the priest and through that sacrament. Because I can't imagine just, our Protestant brothers and sisters, they just believe that all you have to do is just go directly to God. And I think I've tried that before, and there's just something about it that just isn't the same. Like, yeah, I know God forgives me, and maybe, I don't know if I'm wrong for saying this. Maybe he even forgives me before I go into confession if I already have like a contrite heart and I have like that intention to get to confession. But it's not the same. It's like you're taking those extra steps, and like you said, you're walking into humility by putting yourself in front of another person, um, who is also imperfect, right? But at that time, they're representing Christ. So in that sacrament, it's like you're putting yourself in front of this person and telling them like your deepest darkest secrets, so that vulnerability, and that humility, it's like it does something to you, right? Like that human aspect, it just brings you down, but at the same time, it lets you feel like, okay, I'm not being judged, I'm not being criticized. I'm just hearing the voice of God saying, you know, I
You're
absolve
forgiven.
you of your sins and you're forgiven. And
Mhm.
it's just beautiful, beautiful.
And I think I think honestly, and I think it's beautiful the way that we do it, because at the end of the day, like I heard a priest say this in a homily once. He's like, it also helps because as human beings we need to be affirmed that we are forgiven. How relieving it is, like people don't realize how relieving it actually is to hear those words of the priest say your
Oh
your
yeah,
your sins are absolved, like like you're completely forgiven. It, like, yeah, you could go directly to God, I guess, if people want to use that, right? But it's also like as somebody who, for example, like if for anybody like me who maybe like struggles with anxiety and you're kind of like guilt ridden, or maybe you're very like always worried all the time, or maybe you're kind of somebody that kind of beats yourself up, like I wouldn't be able to do that. Like if I were a president, I would not be, like, that would kill me inside, because I'd be like, does God really forgive me? Like, you kind of start
yeah.
going through it, but
You
then when
have
you
that
actually go in there,
uncertainty. Yeah,
and I feel like maybe that's why God kind of, I would like to think that maybe God does, or at least in my aspect,
yeah,
I would like to think that God maybe does it for me, because it's kind of like his gift and kind of his way of saying, I know how much you overthink and I know how much you beat yourself up, so here's
yeah.
this praise that here's the praise that I assigned, that he's going to be speaking through me. I mean, that I'm
Hmm.
going to be speaking through him, and then here are the words that I know you need to hear, so you're clear and you're good and you understand that you are forgiven. At least that's the way that I interpret it, because it's just like,
Yeah,
because I mean, if you're somebody like me who maybe went through a lot of different things, did a lot of different things that we shouldn't be doing,
yeah.
none of us are proud of our past, but at the end of the day, it's like it's beautiful the way that God just pulls us out of it. And I really do love
Oh
your
yeah,
story, because you get to see the way that God pulls you out of those different situations. And
yeah.
I think what I love most about your story is, like, I see that you love your kids. Like, I know you love them, and
Oh yeah, so
and
much.
and I know, like, I could just imagine that, like, that. I mean, it's good that you're Catholic, because I feel like at the end of the day, you have so many people that you know, so many saints that you could look up to, that you'd be like, like, I can entrust my kids to these saints, or I entrust my kids to them. Now I do
Hmm.
have to ask you one important question. It's the most important question out of this entire interview.
Yeah.
How much do you love Mama Mary, man?
Oh man, so much, so much, and especially like as the years go by, I just feel like I fall in love with her more, and it's so beautiful just to be able to have that, to have like that. I have my mom, and it's a beautiful thing to be able to call her or visit her and feel her embrace. But then to know that I also have another mom, I feel like kind of is spoiled, like a heavenly mother. And then I could go to her and kind of like, just like that, like mama's boy. I could be a mama's boy and then cry to her as well. And just, I did have a tough time, after I went through the whole Protestant boys' home thing. I had a hard time a little bit, maybe because of the things that they would say, uh, with understanding exactly what her role was. But of course, the more you learn about the faith, and you know clearly what her role is very important. Um, and it's a beautiful thing to venerate her. It's just like, okay, I'm not alone in this journey, and that's another thing that I love about the Catholic faith is that you have like this communion, this of saints, a community that's with you, right? Saints in heaven that are with you. You got the saints, you got the angels, you got Mama Mary, um,
Saint
and
Joseph.
yeah,
Uh,
Saint Joseph. You got all these people just praying with you, walking with you, and yeah, Mama Mary's like, recently, I got this little chain. It's tiny, but it's Our Lady of Guadalupe. And when I was in Kentucky, I was actually given the saint cards, and I
oh
was
man, did you
I
get
was
her?
given, yeah, and she was the saint that I chose, that I picked. So I was like, okay, so this is the apparition that I'm gonna be praying to now. and then I'm gonna be asking to intercede for me, because I'm not gonna lie. At the beginning, like before Kentucky, I always like, of course, you have reverence for all of the apparitions. At the end of the day, it's just Mama Mary, right? But I felt a certain way because I'm not Mexican, and I would always just see Mexicans. Since she appeared in Mexico, they're the ones that would mostly venerate her. I'd be like, that apparition is not for me; it's for Mexicans. And then,
hey,
like,
listen, listen. Everybody thinks that the Virgen de Guadalupe, everybody seems to think that's my favorite apparition, and it's not.
oh,
My
it's
favorite
not.
apparition, my favorite apparition is actually Our Lady of Perpetual Help, which is
Oh,
a
okay,
is a
okay.
Byzantine rite, which is what the Byzantine rite. That's what they like to use, the Catholic rite. They like that specific one of Our Lady of Perpetual Help.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's actually my favorite one. But
Oh,
everybody
okay.
always seems to think that, oh, you must love Our Lady of Guadalupe. I'm like, I do, but that's not my favorite.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I felt, right? Um, yeah. So there was like Our Lady of Perpetual Help, or like different apparitions that I would kind of try to pray to. But the more I thought about it after Kentucky, I was like, Our Lady of Guadalupe has always been around me. Like, she's always been, uh, because I've worked with this Franciscan priest named El Padrecito, and he was big on Our Lady of Guadalupe. Everywhere I would go, there's be like murals of Our Lady of Guadalupe just everywhere. I'm like, she's around me everywhere. There's got to be a reason. So I'm like, you know what? Once I got the saint card, I was like, okay, I'm gonna embrace this, and now this is gonna be the apparition that I go to. That looks
Do you know which one
kind
I
of cool.
got? And
Which one?
everybody in the room was silent when I pulled out this card. I got Saint Joseph.
No way.
Yeah, I'm not even kidding.
Whoa.
That was, and it's this specific photo that's one of my favorite photos of him. And I actually have a mini statue I have a mini statue in my room of this
Oh,
specific one.
is he carrying the child Jesus? Okay.
Yes, he is.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You probably can't see it because I'm blurry. But yeah, he's carrying the child Jesus, and I have this specific one. That's the one that I have in my room, and I had it for a long time. And
Wow.
so like 'cause when they told me like, oh, pick a card, and I was like, man, I'm like, I hope it's either Saint Michael or I hope it's Saint Joseph, because I'm huge on both of them. And when I pulled out Saint
Yeah.
Joseph, everybody was like, no way, and I'm just like, I told you I love Saint Joseph.
Wow.
So, so I fell even more in love, and I was like, I knew it. I'm like, I knew the relationship I had with him. So
That's so
it brought
cool.
my heart. Yeah, it brought my
Yeah.
heart to with joy when I got that one.
That's
Um.
super dope.
Oh, and then Sarah's in the house. Love Lonely Girl on
What up,
YouTube. Thanks
Sarah?
for speaking. It says, Love Lonely Girl on YouTube. Thanks for speaking for life with your music. I was so impressed by that at the Sacred Heart Conference in Kentucky. Hello, Georgia. Let's work on hip hop for Mama Mary. That's what she said.
Mm.
And then she also said, she is universal. Mama Mary is everywhere.
Oh yeah.
So
Everywhere.
shout out to Sarah. But yeah, like, man, who would have thought, man? Like everybody was like so stunned when I pulled out the St. Joseph, because they did ask me who's your favorite like patron saint, and I was like, oh, St. Michael and St. Joseph. I'm like, but I have a soft spot for St. Joseph because of um part of my testimony is that I have a huge devotion to St. Joseph because of the absence of a dad that I didn't really have, and he became that
Hmm.
dad for me. And so
Wow.
that's like when I pulled him out, I was so happy, and I was like, I knew he's always been with me. It's kind of like that confirmation that I needed to be like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, like that's that's literally like my best friend. That's literally the saint that I go to. So
Yeah. That's crazy.
crazy.
That's so
Yours is Mama
crazy. Yeah.
Mary, and
Yeah.
mine was Saint Joseph. And crazy.
Yup.
Um, so to kind of wrap this up,
Hmm.
I would love for you to first off, maybe for any advice for anybody out there who maybe is listening to this and is like, you know what, like maybe they want to do music and they don't know where to start or what to do. Any advice for anybody who's maybe thinking about it? And then number two would be, um, where can we find your music? And do you have any words for us, just in general, that you want to leave us with?
Oh yeah. 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 So I'll just go back to the first question. My advice for anybody that wants to start doing music, if you have that desire in your heart, I would say just do it. Do it, but do it faithfully. And I would say start learning as much as you can about the type of music that you want to make. If it's hip hop, I would say learn about the craft as much as you can, the actual craft. Get good at it, pray, and don't be afraid to just release songs. Release songs. You don't have to be super good before you release songs. I think that you'll get good as you release. Like your first couple songs will probably kind of be whack a little bit. That's okay. When I started, my first songs were whack. Like I was trash, but it's okay. I just kept doing doing it and doing it and doing it, and you get better. And pray and learn about your faith and just do it. Just release music, do it, ask questions, but just do it. Take action. Don't procrastinate. Don't wait too long. Yeah, I said learn about the craft, but like I said, you don't have to be like an expert or super good before you start. I would say just start. Just do it.
And then the second one is well, two last questions.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for anybody just in general? Any last words? And then three, where can we find your music?
Yeah. I guess some of my advice would be just learning from my mistakes, and I feel like where I'm at spiritually, it's not where I would have liked to be at my age. I feel like I could have advanced a lot more spiritually if I would have done things differently. Um, I would say that if you're trying to walk your faith, this might sound kind of like not the most spiritual, but I think that it's a good place to start with discipline. Discipline is a big thing because when you don't have that discipline to do God's will and to walk in righteousness and walk in obedience, it's very hard. It's very hard. Like your flesh is gonna win. Even though you have like a desire, your heart's desire to want to do the right thing and to walk in obedience, because we know that faith without works is dead. So you have to, if you have real faith, it's gonna be active. It's gonna be alive, right? But in order to be able to walk in that faith, you have to have discipline. So build discipline. Uh, don't just sit around on your phone and scroll all day. Do things that are hard. Do things that you don't like to do. Um, be trying to learn patience. Put yourself in situations where you're gonna have to practice patience. Put yourself in situations where you're gonna have to do things that are difficult that you don't like. Uh, do things like fast and mortify your flesh. Build virtue, and these are the things that are going to help you actually be able to walk in righteousness, because you can read the Bible, you can read theology, the catechism, you can have all of this knowledge. You have all of this knowledge, but if you're not living it, then it's not going to help you much. um yeah, that would be my advice.
And then where can we find your music?
So you can find my music. Actually, I had a bunch of songs on Spotify, but since I'm changing like the the distributor, yeah, distributor, the digital distributor that I use right now, I only have a few songs on Spotify, but you can find my music on Spotify. You can find it on YouTube. You can find it on Apple Music. Val, VAL, Mural, spelled like mural, MURAL.
Okay. All right, guys. You guys heard it here. First and foremost, thank you to everybody who listened in, who tuned in, who asked their questions.
Yeah,
Thank you, everybody, for their support. Thank you, Val, for coming on here and sharing your story with us. What a
yeah.
blessing, man, to be able to get to highlight your testimony and get to see the goodness of God in the way that He works through your story, through your testimony, through your life, through your music. Um, Again, very inspired. You became one of my favorite people, since the Kentucky conference. So
Thank you so much.
so
Thank
you
you,
and
Addie.
everybody else has been on my Spotify playlist for a while now. So it's nice to be able to replace it now with the ones that I used to listen to and kind of
There you
just
go.
get new ones to kind of swap it out. So it's been really good. Thank you so much again for taking the time to do this interview. Thank you to
Oh
everybody
yeah,
that
no
listened
worries.
in. And God bless everybody. Make sure you go and check out his stuff. I'm going to list below his social media so you guys can go and take a look. Um, so, just for anybody that's curious and wants to listen to his music, definitely recommend it. Hopefully this will not be the last time that you come on here. So we'll love to have you on for more future episodes.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right. Thank you guys so much, and God bless. Till next time.
Peace.